I recently purchased a 2004 Sea-Doo Sportster and the storage hatch in front of the driver would not stay up. I found the original equipment manufacturer part on seadoopartshouse.com. The OEM part number is 269501993. I looked this up on Amazon and ordered the Titan gas shock ASIN number B07S6CTVV7. I know the camera angle is not great, but was the best I could do to easily access the gas shock in the storage compartment. I propped the hatch open with an old broom handle. I then used needle nose pliers and a flathead screwdriver to remove the round clip on the pin holding the frontmost part of the gas shock. The clip is small and pops off, so make sure you do not lose it as it will be needed to be reinstalled. I then removed the pin and two washers. To remove the pin on the opposite side of the shock, I had to loosen the two nuts and bolts holding the bracket that holds that end of the shock. I could then lift it up enough to remove that pin after first removing the round clip and washers. To do this, I used a 10mm socket and locking pliers to loosen the nuts on those two bolts. Once I removed the gas shock, I clipped the zip ties on either end so I could reuse the rubber boot on the new gas shock. Be sure to clip just the zip ties and be careful not to cut the rubber boot. Pulling the rubber boot off the old gas shock was a little challenging, but would have been easier had I unscrewed the eye bolts on either end of the old gas shock first. After removing the rubber boot, I unscrewed the eye ends on both sides of the old gas shock, and I also saved the washer on the one end of the gas shock. I did this because I found the eye ends on the gas shock were slightly narrower than the ones that came from the old one, and the new gas shock also did not come with a washer on the one end. So I unscrewed and replaced the eye ends from the new gas shock and replaced them with the ones and the washer from the old gas shock. Before putting the old eye ends back on the new gas shock, first pull on the rubber boot from the old gas shock. Add one zip tie to each end of the rubber boot to secure it to the new gas shock. Be sure to clip the excess part of the zip ties off. Next, reinstall the thick end of the new gas shock on the mount nearest the steering wheel, being sure to have a washer on both ends, and install the round clip to hold the pin in place. Then tighten up the bolts that hold the mounting bracket in place using a 10mm socket and locking pliers. Now you can push the front of the new gas shock in place to align with the holes in the hatch and install the front pin, washers, and round clip for holding the pin in place. As you can see, I removed the broom handle and the hatch stayed in place. The new gas shock did the trick. I hope you found this video helpful. Please like it below and leave any comments for additional hints and tricks you have for replacing the front gas shock.